V'omer Adonai el Moshe emor el haKohanim b'nei Aharon v'amarta alehem l'nefesh lo yitama be'amav. And God said to Moses, say to the Cohanim, to the priests who serve in the temple, sons of Aaron, say to them, don't become impure from your people. The impurity discussed here is the impurity from being in contact with the dead. Touching a dead body in Jewish law imparts impurity. Mei HaShiloah Rabbi Mordechai Yosef of Izbitzer, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, says the following. Say, emor means say. Emor, say to the Cohanim, the sons of Aaron, and you shall say to them, do not make yourselves impure from the dead of your people. Kohen represents the servants of God who see all actions in the world as a result of the direct involvement or hashgacha of God. He also sees that God's desire is only to improve the creation. One who sees the world in this way will inevitably become frustrated and angry when he confronts difficult situations in the world that are expressions of God's stern judgment. He'll say, it's not fair. One who believes that the world is run by chance, on the other hand, has no address for his anger or complaints. When he confronts a situation in the world that's contrary to his desires, he'll say that it came about by chance. Thunderous anger is only possible for the believer who sees everything as a decree from heaven. For this reason, the Holy One, blessed be He, commands the Cohanim, believers and servants of God, do not contaminate yourself from the dead of your people. In other words, don't become angry at God when confronting pain and suffering, as this kind of anger is itself the contamination of the dead, from the dead. It is a response to God's judgments in the world that bring about loss and absence, as discussed in the Zohar. Therefore, God commanded, Emor el HaKohanim. Say to the Cohanim. There's two ways of, there's different words for there's saying and there's telling. Emor is to say, and Magid is to tell, lahagid. So when we say emor, it means in a soft language. When we say magid, it means in a stern, difficult language. The Mei HaShiloah says that emor means speaking in a whisper. God enjoins us to whisper into the ears of the servants of God that they should not have angry complaints against stern judgment. For the intentions of God are always in order to improve. Even when He conducts the world with the attribute of stern judgment, then too His intention at the very depths are only to improve. This is a very basic idea in theology in all religions, and it requires that leap of faith. Life has meaning. Say to the Cohanim. The Mei HaShiloah, the Rebbe of Izbitzer, continues and says, it is written in the Midrash Tanchuma, on this parsha, there's a parable about a king who says to his cook, I request that you not so much as look at the dead all the days of your life. Not so much as look at the dead. In that way you will not defile my palace. The cook is, so to speak, responsible for the pleasure of the king. So therefore the king warned him, since your job is to see to my pleasure, be careful not to cause me sadness. Witnessing death is the opposite of simcha, joy. This is say to the Cohanim, be careful not to do the opposite of what you're supposed to do. The Cohanim are God's cooks. The Cohanim were chosen to bring down from heaven an effusion of simcha into the world. The service of the Kohen is in order to give nachas, contentment, and a pleasant spirit to the Holy One, blessed be He. Another interpretation of the Mei HaShiloah, say to the Kohanim, do not make yourselves impure from the dead of your people. The Kohen is chosen as the vehicle through which all the actions of Israel will be rectified and acceptable before the Holy One, blessed be He. Therefore he warns them about the impurity from the dead, for death brings about the opposite of this. There are three levels found in man, in ascending order from below to above: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. These are the three levels of soul. The vitality of the nefesh is only complete when it is connected to the higher levels of ruach and neshama. Therefore, at night, when the ruach and the neshama separate from the body, only the nefesh remains and has no ability to affect conscious physical action. This is why we say every morning, blessed are you, God, who straightens the bent. For when the ruach and the neshama reconnected to the nefesh and the body, who were, so to speak, bent over, then they're straightened and upright. As we find in man, so too we find in the whole community of Israel. The Kohen is the head of the body of Israel. Just as there is the aspect of thought in man's soul, and the body is under the influence of his thoughts, so too the rest of Israel are on different levels, one higher than the other. It is like the organs and limbs of a man, starting with the head and evolving down to the organs of action, fingers, feet, mouth, etc. When man is awake, the head controls the body, as in the famous saying of the Baal Shem Tov, a man is where his thoughts are. Where your thoughts are, that's where you are in your entirety. When he's asleep, there's no difference between the head and the rest of the body. Therefore, God warns the Kohanim, the head of the body, right, not to be impure from the dead, since the Kohen is in charge of the body of Israel and has the power to rectify all their actions. Death teaches of the opposite of this. For in death he has no power of action to fix all that he has perverted in his life. The Kohen's unique ability to rectify the actions of Israel is so that nothing would become irrecoverably lost in exile.